Hey, everybody. I am Stephen Boster here with the Pastors Compass Community Group, and I am hanging out with Mr. Dr. Matt Tanner. I almost did a whole bunch of other things. Matt, say hey to
Mr.
everybody.
Mr. Dr. Hey You. Yeah, I'm Dr.
Right.
Matt Tanner. I'm author of The Wounded Pastor, and great to be with everybody. I'm excited to hear from our guests this afternoon.
Yes, and so everybody, we were joking just before we went on that this is the most right Reverend Dr. Mr. Steve Warmer with us today.
The bishop of every foreign land you've never heard of.
well, Steve is just a great all-around guy, and probably, to be open with you, probably one of the most genuine men I've met in my life. And we are gonna have a talk with him about him, his ministry, who he is, his heart, his passion, and really why he is a trusted partner here with us at the Pastor's Compass. And we're going to have other contact information if you decide you want to get a hold of him and talk with him. And he is an incredible encourager. I love his Facebook posts, so make sure you friend him on Facebook because he's always putting in great quotes. And he even texted me one, and I was like, I needed that today. So, Steve, I just publicly saying I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
You're welcome.
I just want to know, Stephen, why don't you introduce me like that? I mean, that was good.
You like that?
That was good.
That's for discussion after the meeting. No. All right. Well, Steve, why don't you first talk about who you are? Just introduce who you are, and talk a little bit about just your life and ministry, and then I want us to talk about really where you're serving now and all that you're doing. Sound like a plan?
I'm just one of the guys.
That's right.
This is awesome. I'm really honored to be with you guys. I've gotten to know you both over the last, I don't know, 12, 18 months, maybe a little longer with Matt.
Yeah.
I'm trying to recall, but love this ministry. Love how you're trying to help leaders that have been through painful experiences. And so just thank you for having me on. I'll just tell you a little bit about me. Been married for 28 years. I'm a blessed man. I've got three children. You can pray for me. They're all teenagers this year. The youngest became 13, so I've got 17, 15, and 13, and my grocery bill is reflecting that fact. But no, they're blessings for sure. So I've been in church leadership. I guess from a formal standpoint, going on 15 years now, three different churches, two of them full time. One we got our feet wet in Alabama, and then we went into the full time ministry for several years in Central Illinois. And we're native Tennesseans. We were converted in Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville was our home for close to 30 years. Both of us, Rebecca, my wife, even a little longer than that. And so after being in Illinois for several years and enduring those winters, we were thrilled when God said, I'm going to move you back to Tennessee. But typical of God and his sense of humor, he says, but you're not going back to Nashville where you know everybody. You're going to go to Memphis. You're going to go to another city. So it was challenging leaving a lot of people that I learned to love there in Illinois, but thrilled to be back in Tennessee, which we've been now, gosh, it's hard to believe we've been here 4 years. We moved here in June of 2020. If you might remember something going on in the world at that time.
Right.
So that was an interesting time to move and serve a new church. So that's a little bit about me.
Absolutely.
Whoa. Well, I will say this. I am feeling your pain on the grocery bill. So my youngest is in my family. He's 14 and he is getting ready to go into ninth grade and he is already in football camp.
Ooh.
So just to give you an inclination, we bought from Costco those, that big old 14 pack of ballpark hot dogs, the big old hot dogs. It has not even been 24 hours yet and he's eaten 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve, I was actually thinking it's been probably 2 years or more that when we got connected. And as I was finishing up the Wounded Pastor, we got connected through a mutual friend, a guy named Jason that I went to college with. And what's funny, don't tell Jason, but I talk to you more now than I do him. So, that's okay. But yeah, it's been about 2 years now.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
The older I get, that saying, time flies. When you're having fun, when you get old, it just flies, period.
It just flies. Yeah.
Whether you're having fun or not, it just flies.
I had a good friend of mine who I discipled for a good year, and he said he was older, and he said, Stephen, he goes, this is my theory of relativity. He goes, when you're young, your whole entire lifespan, let's say, is 1 year. So that is a lifetime. But as you get older, it doesn't seem as long because you have a different time frame understanding of how long you've been around. So if it's 10 years, 10 years is a lifetime. And so that's why every year seems to get faster, because it's going against your whole lifespan. So when you get 50, 50 is, saying how old I am kind of a thing, but just saying that, yes, 1 year is totally different. It's small compared to someone who's been around 10 years. That's 10% of their life is 1 year, but when you're 50, it's like 2,
Yeah,
so.
I'm just sitting over here, can't remember what I did yesterday. So I'm just.
Well, Matt, in your case, I think that's a different story. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Sorry.
I've already been beat up on today. I got told I need bifocals. Okay, so I'm already hurting over here. So let's get back to talking about Steve. So
that's right. That's right. Well, Steve, let me ask you this. So tell us about the ministry that you're involved with right now.
So in addition to my church responsibilities, my wife and I, a few years ago, got involved in a nonprofit organization that we call Hurt to Hope. And it's really a ministry that helps folks process their unprocessed emotions. So when you think about unforgiveness, bitterness, anxiety, grief, disappointment, relationship challenges. I mean, I could go on and on, but there's kind of a sampling.
Those are important.
Well, they're big things, right?
They are.
I think most of us would acknowledge at one point in time or another, maybe even presently, I'm dealing with some stuff in my heart, some stuff that I can't quite process in a godly, healthy way. And so we have a program that's obviously faith-based that we teach people in a workshop setting. It's very flexible. It can be done for married couples. It can be done for individuals. It can be done for churches. It can be done for ministers.
Okay.
It can be done in a small group setting. It's very flexible. But what it is 10 hours of work, and we teach a lot. But also the participants do a lot of work in between those foundational teachings. Ooh. And we have found that the teachings, the content's really, really good, but it's that healing work that they're doing in between the segments that is really where you see God's Spirit do some amazing work. And so the program's been around for about 25 years. My wife and I have been involved with it for about 7, but increasingly the last couple of years to where now, we're the day-to-day leaders of the organization. So we really want to see it expand into churches and to other entities, but we also recognize that getting a church to go through it is probably going to mean the minister has to see the value in it, and they're likely to need to go through it for themselves. Matter of fact, a good friend of mine that's a minister of a church in Florida, he brought us in there to do a workshop for his church a couple of years ago, and he thought he was just bringing it in there for his church, and he is on actual testimony. It's on video saying, I thought I was bringing this in for my church. What I didn't know was how much I really needed it myself.
That makes me nervous to bring it to our church. I'm just kidding. I'm teasing. Because I know I've got baggage. I'm just saying.
Well, that leads
we
me
all do.
that just leads me to kind of exploratory question for you. How important it is for ministers to go through that period of healing. I mean, because that's what the pastor's compass is all about, is finding a place to heal and to process what they're going through. How important it is it for a pastor to heal, or at least start the process of dealing with some of those things before he steps into a new ministry?
I think it's vital. If you're listening today and you've got a thriving ministry and you've got a well balance between your family life, your personal life, and the ministry, and you're hitting on all cylinders, then this probably isn't the message for you. Not that we want to turn you off from listening, but it's been my experience, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. It's been my experience that there are a ton of ministers that are running wide open. They're expected to be not only the ministers, but they're expected to be the CEO. They're expected to work 25/8, meaning 25 hours a day, 8 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
They're expected to make the decision from everything from how short to cut the grass to the paint color of the new carpet. And I know that sounds funny, but it's real.
It's
And
real.
it's exhausting for the minister, because what do any of that have to do with sharing the gospel and equipping the saints, which is our primary role? And a lot of I'm going to assume also there's some folks listening where they're the only employee on the staff, especially if it's a smaller or even a mid-sized church, depending on the budget. And I know a minister right now that's just about to come off his sabbatical, and he's been in the ministry for, I think, 21, 22 years, and it's his first one.
Wow.
And I think there's a lot of folks in that scenario. I've been in ministry, like I said, 14, 15 years, and I've not had a sabbatical. So I think there's a lot of people toast right now. And I don't know if I'm answering your question, Matt, but to transition from one ministry to another, and all we're going to do is take that baggage, and we've all got it, by the way. We're going to take it with us just over our shoulder. It'd be a great lesson to see preached on, right? Or maybe you've done one or had someone that's preached on it.
Yeah.
Worry, anxiety, guilt, shame. Think about running your race with all that heavy stuff. We're not going to be able to run it very continuously and very effectively until we're able to ditch that stuff.
There was two things I've heard you mention that are really appealing. One is, it's what Hurt to Hope does is, it's not a, hey, let's give you, number one, is not this information dissemination and here you go, be fed, be well, and off on your own. But it sounds like, it is truly a workshop. As part of that. And so do you find that you've got people who struggle getting through it, or do you feel like that people are like, I'm finding a sense of light at the end of the tunnel as I work through this?
Great question. So what we've learned to do is, when people are coming into the workshop, we're getting them all set, and this can be done virtually or in person.
Okay.
When they're coming into the workshop, before we lay out the ground rules and the what to expect and all that, they have workbooks, and we ask them to just jot down. Nobody sees this but them. Somewhere in their workbook where they'll find it, jot down the 3 descriptive words that they're feeling right at this moment. Okay. And then they store that away. And then at the end of the workshop, we come back to that, and we say, as we're wrapping things up, we say, I want you to write down, go back to that, and underneath that, write 3 words that describe how you're feeling now that you've gone through the workshop. This is simple, right? This part of it's simple.
Yeah.
But it is amazing, the compare and contrast that you get.
That's my question number 2. Oh, this go. You got it. Go.
That's awesome. So you'll get stuff like anxious, cautious, hopeless, discouraged, and some,
Cynical,
hopeful,
cynical,
absolutely. So that's your sampling there. And then afterwards, peaceful, hopeful, content, recharged, refreshed. And it's like, God did that. God had to have done that in our time together. So that's kind of a sampling of, and I would say this, you didn't ask this question. I would say I have met maybe one person in all the years that I've been involved that didn't get the results they were hoping for,
Mm.
but they also didn't do all the work.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
So doing the work is important. Yeah.
mhm.
Gosh, I'm a little touched. If you guys can see, my eyes are a little glossy because my second question was I was going to ask you, what do people say before and what do people say after? So that was totally 100% God thing that you just rolled right into it.
Yeah.
So because I think that's the thing is um, there are now I can now that whole hurt to hope title really speaks to me even more now because I'm like, this is where you are before. Come, let us work with you. Let's guide you. Let's help you along this process. Yes, we still have to do our part. We still have to do the work on our own, but we are going to come out so much better on the other side than we were when we went in. That's that's
Yeah.
that's that's powerful.
Yeah. And Steve, I'm going to give you a chance to brag on the ministry. We spent enough time together. I know you as a brother, and you won't brag on yourself, but brag on the ministry, and like, give me a success story. You can change the names to protect the innocent, or in my case, protect the guilty. But give me a success story of Pastor Joe with it. I mean, and just kind of show what Hurt to Hope has done. For especially a pastor, if you can.
Well, for a pastor,
Or even an individual.
well,
I mean, it all kind of goes together.
well, the pastor part is kind of an early process. We just did our first pastors workshop a couple months ago for a denomination up in Illinois,
Hmm.
and it was amazing. I know we had a testimony from one guy that's, I think it's on our YouTube channel, that we can direct people to. But I think the big takeaway from that was those pastors had a safe place for a few hours and for a couple of days. And so I'm not gonna go into details, but just listening to them in the breaks, because we're having lunch together for 2 days, you're having some breaks after some work's done, and them sharing their I'll just be candid with you, some of their horror stories in the ministry. And I'm still a colleague of theirs. I'm still understanding what they're saying because I'm experiencing my own. And ministers definitely need a safe place. This is a great community, and the Pastor's Compass is another tool, right? It's a great community where we can feel like we don't have to do this alone.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
I I'm just going to open up. I think when I went through the things that I went through, that aloneness was was very prominent. You felt on your own. Now, I will say I was blessed that God put in. There was a couple of men who came side by side and said, "Hey, as a fellow brother in Christ, let's talk. How you doing? What's going on? What can I do to help?" Or, and sometimes just having that listening ear of someone that is not going to let me, what's the word, just complain, but at least hears me out and says, "Okay, now that you've said that, what's next?"
Yeah.
It wasn't just to stay where I was at; it was always to push forward. And I wish I had known about many of, like Hurt to Hope. I wish I had known about, wounded leadership, those kinds of things. And,
Mhm.
and, and as much as I want us to get the word out there to everybody, I think the biggest thing is there are a lot of pastors that are going through a whole lot. And any way we can get the word out to let them know, hey, here is a place. And it may be one of those things where those who hear this and they get connected, Steve, with you, they get connected through the Pastor's Compass, but at least hopefully we can have just a network of saying, hey, I did this. I did Stephen Boster's thing. That's no big deal. But Steve Warmer thing, That's where you got to sign up. I'm not trying to say you're better or I'm worse or anything like that. I just mean from the point of view is we want to make sure we have a network of things that may work for some people that may they connect with, because that's what we want. We want healing and restoration to the men and women that God's called to be in ministry, and whatever that may look like. And I think a lot of times, and I have to, I just, Matt, I just have to applaud you even on the aspect of saying, hey, pastors' wives need to have connections as well. And so we made sure we had that in the community, a place where pastors' wives can get together and encourage each other and say, been there, done that. Let me help you. Um, and so, Steve, I just appreciate your insight and your experience and your dedication to just helping people move beyond where they've been to a place of hope.
I appreciate it. I mean, I think what I sense us doing here is we're just having dialogue, and
Mm-hmm.
dialogue's the beginning point of healing, right? And I think pastors just want to know there's tools out there.
Hmm.
There's hope out there. There's enough resources. Matt and I talk about this all the time. There's enough hurting going on, unfortunately, that
Yeah.
there's enough resources to help, but a lot of folks don't know where they are. So we're just
Mm-hmm.
bringing attention to it. We're here. We just want to help. And I think that's why we're all on this call.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Excellent.
that's exactly why we're bringing this together. Because when I wrote The Wounded Pastor, I did the study and I wrote it because I could not find any resources to help me. Now there may have been a few out there, but they were harder to find, and that's where Hurt to Hope. You guys are kind of bridging a middle gap there because you work with the hurt of the churches, but it can also feed the pastors in that as well. And you talk about one of the things you said is having the conversation. When I talk about counseling, because part of my ministry is a counseling ministry, the hardest meeting to get people to sign up for is the first one. If I can get them to sign up for the first one, start talking, start sharing their story, then they find hope, they find healing. They it seems like you've got them. You can kind of get them into the process. So that's what we're trying to do, is just let's identify, let's admit that we're hurt, let's admit that we need help, and here is the buffet of resources for you to choose from, and pick which one works the best for you. So that's really what we're trying to do with this here.
Yep.
That's great.
All right, everybody. Well, we are wrapping up here with just our quick discussion with Steve about him, his ministry, and just another avenue and opportunity for you to find more healing. And we're here to along the way with you. We've been there, done that, been run over by the church bus backwards and forwards, and so we are all here to say, one, you're not alone, and two, we are here to help. So,
So, Steve, one thing I want to ask you, somebody's watching this video because we're going to put it on the Pastor's Compass and put it out there. Something resonates with what you said on Hurt to Hope. I know we're going to put some links on there for you, but how do they get a hold of you, and how do they connect with Hurt to Hope and tap into some of the resources that you guys have?
I would say the two best things to do would be go to www, all lowercase, hurt, the number two, hope.org, hurttohope.org. Check that out. There's some videos on there for ministers. There's some videos on there for churches. There's some videos on there just if you're an individual that's going through a tough time. It's got a lot of resources on there. Also, my email is the best way to get a hold of me, and that is steve.wormer, WORMER, at hurt2hope.org. Those are the two best ways.
If those are watching the video, there's a reason that we put Hurt to Hope as our trusted partners, because Steve, we believe in what you're doing. Love you as a brother. I've looked at your stuff. It's solid biblical stuff, and I know it's going to help somebody on this platform. So I'm excited about what God is doing through you and Hurt to Hope.
Thank you. I'm just glad to be a partner with you guys. You guys are doing great work. Keep it up.
Will do. All right. Thank you, everybody. We look forward to seeing you next time here on the community. All right. See ya.